Look at Talk, another new episode starts now. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome everybody to another edition of Liquor Talk. Happy 2026, folks. I apologize for the wait. Life been lifing, but nevertheless, we got a great episode for you. I'm your man, Victor, host of that Liquor Talk, where we don't just sip liquor, we stir the culture. And joining me today, we got a doctor in the house, Dr. Laryssa Creswell, hailing from Maryland. How you doing today, Doc?
I'm doing just fine. Thank you for having me today.
All right, Doc, tell us a little about what you do. I understand you're a therapist, you're an author, and you're a speaker. Tell us a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, so I am a therapist who specializes in trauma focused treatment for women and teen girls. I have a private practice in Annapolis, Maryland. And as you said, I'm an author. I have a book that just came out last year, and then also do speakings and trainings to organizations around the country.
Now, how far is Annapolis from Baltimore?
It's probably about 25 or so minutes. It's not depending on traffic. 25,
The
30 minutes.
only reason I ask that because Baltimore is the one part of Maryland I'll go to consistently, but I don't know how much more consistent I'll be going now because the conference I went to last year, well, that was the last one. So, shout out to Mr. Talib from Afros and Audios. So, I was in Baltimore last year, and it gets crowded.
Yeah, yeah. Annapolis is a good place too. It's right by the water, a lot of good seafood. Just as you can get good seafood in Baltimore, there's a lot of good seafood and stuff in Annapolis as well.
Oh, that's real. That's real. Cause next time I go, I definitely got to hit up those good seafood places because my host, he was doing good, but he ain't show me nowhere to get no good seafood. I'm like, come on, man. You know, Annapolis, Maryland is known for seafood, crab cakes, all that. He ain't show
Yeah.
me nowhere to get some good seafood, but
Oh, yeah, yeah.
um, but you know what? I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt. He invited me to come back to his studio. Hey, G, if you're listening, hey man, I need some seafood, man. Next time I come to visit Baltimore. But talk to me about your practice. So what made you say you want to dedicate your life to being a therapist and helping women unpack from their healing, from their traumas?
Yeah. So uh I've always been the person that people would come to ask questions and like help me figure this out or help me solve this. And then I would always get that feedback of what you said or what you did was really helpful. And so that eventually led me down the path of, well, how can I do this and do this with more people and then actually make a living in doing so? And then I found, first I found music therapy because I started off thinking I was going to be a teacher. So thought I was going to be helping kids in that way. And then quickly decided that that's not the path for me, but how can I use music and then still be able to help people? I found music therapy, and then I did that for probably about 12, almost 15 years. And then I decided, I need a little more skill in how to use the verbal because when in music therapy, there's a lot of nonverbal that takes place in trying to help people be able to express who don't necessarily have the words to be able to express how they're feeling or what they're gone through. And so, but when they do talk, now what do I do with that? So I went back to school for counseling so that I could learn how to be able to hear what people are saying to me and then how to be able to respond in a more impactful way. And then with that, then I was working in a psychiatric hospital setting and found myself really gravitating towards the way we were providing treatment for women there. There's a lot of research that says that there's specific gender specific type treatments that need to be offered that can help women improve or live their life in the way that they need to and want to and heal and recover in a more effective kind of way, so to speak. So long story short, that is kind of where I found myself focusing in on providing treatment for women.
Understood, understood. Now go back to music therapy. Now, how does one heal from listening to music? Is it just simply playing your favorite tunes to get through your day, or is it something specific you have to listen to?
Yeah, no, it's very specific. It's not just listening, but it's also creating. So it's the act of making music as well. So there is a portion in where yes, we do listen. We call it lyric analysis, and where we may choose a specific song as a means to getting to a particular point, and so that the artist. The lyrics speak to a particular topic, or we may know of the experience that the person or people, because we oftentimes we practice in a group setting, that we know that they are needing to address or having challenges in trying to address it, in using their own words, and so we can speak to it from the author or the sorry, the author's perspective or the artist perspective who wrote the song, and we talk about how they may feel or what they might have been thinking. And ultimately, what that tends to lead to is I think the artist felt this way, and I can relate to that because I experienced, and now we're talking about them. So it is kind
Mhm.
of a eased way to get into being able to talk about the uncomfortable thing and talk about it directly by talking about the artist first. So that's one way. The other way is by creating. So whether it's by using percussion instruments and where we're gathered and we're all playing and making music with the intent of um, being able to communicate, engage, and be in community with each other with the making of music.
Wow, that's amazing. So, how do you think that's really helped you personally? Has that really just, or is that something you still use today?
Oh, I still use it today. I don't use it as often to be honest, but I do use it. But the way I believe that it has helped me because it gives it's another tool. It's a way for me to be able to hear in a different kind of way than somebody who is only taught therapy or doesn't have a creative therapist or creative therapy background at all. Um, it gives me the ability to hear, to see my the way I'm observing the person or the people that are sitting in front of me is slightly different, is a little nuanced, as well as when they are stuck and they can't give me words, or we're stuck in trying to be able to talk about the difficult thing, I can quickly switch over into the music, and maybe we're starting to make music, or maybe I am pulling in an artist that I know that they told me that they like this particular artist, that I can grab one of their songs that I know speaks to the thing that we are working on and just kind of switch over like that.
That's real. That's real. So what is something about therapy overall in general you wish you would have known before you got started?
Oh, that is a great question. Um, I think what I wished I had known before is that you have to pace yourself. Like you can't just jump in thinking that people are going to start talking to you just because you're you. Unfortunately, like I thought, well, I'm a cool, laid back person. I'm gonna go in the room and they're gonna be able to relate to me, and that's not the case, right? But knowing that it's gonna take time and that it doesn't have anything to do with me and my skill, but it has all to do with where that person is and their trust level, their ability to trust is what is in the center of the room. And if I had known that, then I probably would have slowed down and just been a little more patient. The patience that I have now, probably having that patience then.
Mm. Understood. Trust me, I understand. You got to have patience with people because yeah, I can say the same thing about doing podcasting because for years it's like you realize with certain guests it's like trying to get them to talk is tough, but real over time you realize you just got to be patient and then naturally present topics and then naturally people start to warm up because nobody opens up off rip. Shots to people that do though, but you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. There are those people that do jump out there, and then that can be overwhelming too. It's like, oh my goodness, I'm just trying to get the basic information, and now I know everything. And now what do you do with all that information that's just been thrown at you also? That's the opposite end of the spectrum.
Oh yeah. Now, staying with that, you just said something interesting. Now, what is too much information to be given to a therapist at one time? What is at some point? What are some things you're like, okay, I could have gone this whole session that without knowing that.
Actually, that happens quite often. It's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you just told me that. But okay, that's gonna go in the vault, and it's not gonna alter the way I'm seeing you, hearing you, and spending my time and being with you. But I can't think of anything right off the top of my head. I would be afraid that I'm gonna reveal something anyway. But there, yeah, there's been some wild things told that it's just like, oh, okay.
Nah, I understand. I definitely understand. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Look and Talk. Remember, the more you drink, the better we sound. If you got any concerns or if you got any questions, go ahead and inbox us right now, ladies and gentlemen. But pour up that liquor because this conversation is about to get good, folks. Shout out to everybody that's tuning in on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and also shout out to everybody on the Podmatch Podcast Network and the MBG Podcast Network. I think they're based in Maryland, I believe. So, what is your advice to everybody that says for the new year they say I'm gonna go back to therapy? What's your advice to them, and how do they seek the right therapist to go to? Because a lot of people that say, "Oh, I'm gonna go to therapy," but they'll just go to therapy just to go, and instead of doing the work.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's a great question. I think first of all, it is being able to see if you can get a consultation with the therapist. Like you're reading their profile, you're seeing if something that they say that they do or the way that they work, if that really connects with you. Um, then being able to talk to them, to ask them all the questions up front that you would want to know, whether it is how long have they been practicing, who have they worked with, how have they helped people, um, here's my past experience in therapy that didn't go so well, what would you do differently? Those are things that you can ask that therapist, and you will quickly know if that's the right therapist if they sit there and they answer those questions for you. um, you know, listening to your body. Do you feel comfortable? Do you get this like weird feeling in your stomach, or does it get you get a little tingling in your stomach when you're talking to them, and where you feel this discomfort? Then that might not be the person for you, right? Um, like I said, just being able to ask them the questions that you would want to know is thinking about what is it that you're wanting to work on. Sometimes people don't know. They just know that something doesn't feel right, or I've been struggling to do a thing, or I'm just stressed out. And I think it would be helpful, or either somebody told me it would be helpful to talk to someone, um, but coming in, just sharing that information. It's also knowing that you don't have to share everything out the gate. You just want to give them a little snippet of what it is that you are kind of struggling with, and you being able to get the sense of, I think this person can help me based on how they say that they work.
Mhm. You know that's definitely fair because I really feel like people they definitely need to interview the therapist instead of just get here. Here's my money. Treat me, without knowing what they can do and what specifically they can help you with. Because you might be asking somebody who don't know this. You gotta definitely question it. I definitely totally agree with you on that. So how do you know if you're the what am I trying to say? Yeah, how do you know if you're wasting a therapist's time?
Hmm. How do you know if you're I don't know if you can necessarily waste the therapist's time. Um, outside of, if you're not committed to the work, it takes commitment. Um, and it is going to stretch you. It's going to ask you to stretch yourself. And so being as ready as possible coming into the space, just open to the experience and to the process. I think it's usually, and maybe it's because I'm coming from the other end of it, it's oftentimes we more so think about ensuring that we don't waste your time, because you are investing in yourself. You are investing in improving the way that you're living life, or either being able to see or learn a way to be able to live life in a different kind of way. And so we work really hard to ensure that we're not wasting your time. But also, and I say it that way because if you come in and like we were talking about earlier, you come in kind of slow and it takes you a little while to warm up, and get comfortable with the person that you're talking to, just know that you're not wasting their time. Know that they understand that it's you going through this process of trying to become comfortable so that you then can open up.
Mm, that's real. Now, why? Now, lastly, why should people, if they haven't already considered going to therapy, why should people consider going to therapy?
Yeah. I think that, we can all grow there, and you choose how you want to be able to do that. But oftentimes, there are things that the therapist, because of the skill set that we have, that we may be able to point out or see that you might not otherwise, or even if you were just talking to a friend, that they would not be able to see, or even know what to do with what it is that you're talking about. And so by choosing to, like, this year I want to do some things differently, getting an objective point of view to give back to you what you've said, and or insert, like, hmm, I wonder if you've ever thought about it in this way, or have you ever tried doing this thing, which would be different or very different from what it is that you say that I always do or I always have, um, could set you on a different trajectory than you would have if you were just trying to be out there in these streets by yourself.
Mhm. Yes, that's real. That is definitely a real favorite back there. If everybody listening to this, please go get some therapy. Yes, going to a bar and talking to a friend is not always the best therapy. It helps sometimes, yes, it does, but that's not always the best therapy. It's okay to go get some professional help because Lord knows we all need it out here because times is tough out here.
Yeah, that's for sure.
All right. All right, Doc. Talk to me about invisible burdens. Like, and what invisible burdens do people get praised for carrying? Because there are some burdens we have that we be carrying that almost nobody knows about.
Yeah. Yeah, so I wrote a book called The Invisible Weight We Carry: Breaking Free from Generational Burdens and Emotional Baggage. And this idea that if you've ever been told that, you are so strong and the way that you handled that situation, I don't think I could have done it in the way that you did, knowing that you were like dragging your feet, knees scraping and struggling all the while. However, you made it look easy, or you made it look like you had this strength. Like, that's the invisible weight or the invisible burdens that I'm talking about. Um, this idea of that we are praised for how much I can take on your issues, I can take on their issues. I can take on everybody's issues and then still be able to maintain mine. Maybe so. We can do that only for so long until the kind of in the walls they start to crack, and then where it feels like everything is heavy, and I can't hold on to nothing. And it's because I feel like I can't say no, or it's just the expectation that I be able to help you, help them, and while I'm over here struggling already trying to help myself. And my message is that you don't have to do that. There is no need for us to have to do that. And for whatever the reason that there are these messages that have been passed down to us from my mother to from my grandmother to my great grandmother, that this is the way that we do it. Like, if you've ever heard yourself say, "Oh no, this is just the way we've always done it in my family. I don't even know why." Well, that's a legacy burden. That's something old that has nothing to do with you. And what it is, what's happening is you are realizing that I don't know if I need to do it that way. Sometimes we question it, which we should be. Sometimes we don't. Sometimes we're just like, well, that's what they told me I'm supposed to do, so I'm just go and do it. even though I'm struggling to do it, right? But I'm saying we should question it. How is this helping me now? Yeah, that's what they did then, probably out of necessity. It's probably because that's what they had to do. But do I have to do that now? Things are a little bit different. As much as things have changed, a lot of things are the same, but yet they have changed, right? And so, do I need to do it that way, or is there another way that can maybe either get me the same result or get me a better result? And all the while, now I'm not scraping my knees and trying to do it and now, flipping out or stressed out or uh like spinning my wheels and burning through my money because there's actually a different way to do it. And where I might be able to save money, save my knees, save my mind in the process and get a thing done and potentially do a thing in a more effective way and do it in a way that could be even more impactful, not only for me, but because I started questioning and then making decisions to do something different. Guess what? Now the generations after me will start to do it differently. They'll start to think differently. They'll start to question. It happens all the time with my son. He's always, well, why do we have to do that? As much as it irritates me, I have to pause and remember that he's seeing it in a different way. Just because I did it in a particular way, he's like, I don't know why you're doing it that way, because the way I'm thinking about it, I could actually be doing it this way, and it makes more sense and is more efficient and more effective for me to do it that way.
Yeah, do you notice that that's a problem with society today? It's like people have been doing things a certain way, but yet when someone questions it, they got people got names out the wazoo for them. They're getting called everything but the child of Christ for questioning the ways things are doing it. Oh, you're sassy, you're this, you're that for not doing it. It's like at some point you gotta protect your mental health and your mental peace because you don't want to be like our ancestors who passed away at early ages because of stress. So, what do you say to all those people who want to who get mad at the people that question what's going on or certain ways?
Yeah. For them, I would say, know that it's not about disrespect. Because oftentimes that's what makes us mad is if we feel like we're being disrespected, right? And I would say to you, this is an opportunity for you to be open and explore. Well, what if I did hear them out? Let me just hear them out. I may have a very solid, poignant reason for for it being a certain way. And now, by me hearing them, they are more likely to be willing to hear me when I give this further or more deeper explanation, if there is one. There may not be
Mm-hmm.
one, but there and so that also opens the door for you to be able to learn and see something in a different way, which then could make something either easier, lighter, less challenging, less difficult, whatever you want to call it. That it gives opportunity for you. So essentially, what then is taking place is communication, is open communication, and when we don't communicate, that's where everything tends to break down. And so, you being open to what it is that person that is questioning, um, even making clear, is this about, I'm feeling disrespected in the
Mm-hmm.
way it may be just the way in which they're being questioned. Now, can we work with that? So then now both on both sides, both parties can have open ears to be able to hear each other.
That's a fact. And ladies and gentlemen, the one thing I will continue to say, check in on your strong friends. So why do the strong friends always carry the most invisible burdens? Are they just better at carrying burdens than everybody else? Or do they need to find time to address them burdens?
Yeah, they definitely need to find time to address them. It's survival. It's the way that they learn to survive. Like whatever the environment in which they were living, for whatever the reason, it wasn't safe to be able to say, hey, this is hard for me, or I'm struggling to deal with what this experience that's happening. It wasn't safe to be able to do it. And so we figured out how to be able to navigate the challenging or stressful or traumatic environment quietly to keep ourselves safe. And therefore, then that transfers into the way that we just function on a day to day basis as we get older.
That's true. Even still, y'all, everybody listens, please go check on your strong friends, because even the strong friends need somebody to check on and somebody to lean on. Even when they say they're okay, but sometimes it's like shit, the strong friend needs somebody to lean on too, because I feel like that'll prevent people from offering themselves or doing harm, or just one day just snapping on everybody.
That is for sure. That's for sure. If they say I'm okay, I'm all right. Don't worry about me. That lets you know you need to circle back for sure, because there
Mm-hmm.
is something like, and even for you, if what led you to ask, right? There was something that you saw, you heard, right? That made you think, let me check on them, or the fact that I haven't heard anything, let me check on them, right? And so, if they say I'm okay, that's your invitation to circle right back around and ask again.
And shout out to the real friends that do that, because there's some friends that they may say they're okay and just keep it moving, don't even circle back or nothing. They just keep moving with life like nothing going on. But sometimes that strong friend might need somebody to lean on, y'all. So now going back to invisible burdens, do we choose in the invisible burdens, or are they assigned to us?
Yeah. That's an interesting way to phrase it in terms of assigning. But I would lean towards that, and that they're assigned, and that it is what has been passed down. So in every family and every group, subgroup, um, we receive these and we receive these messages, whether it's verbal or whether it's just in observation, and we either learn or figure out how to be able to maneuver with them. And so if I'm told that, you know, you don't ask anybody, you don't go and ask anybody for help. What you do is you sit there and you try to figure out, you strategize and figure out how to do it on your own. So maybe the intention is to try to get me to be able to use my own creative thinking to be able to solve a problem. But ultimately, what the message that gets, that underlying message that lands, is that you don't ask nobody for help. You have to do it all by yourself. You have to figure it out no matter what. You have to do it on your own. And so then that's the thing that gets passed down, because guess what? That's what they were told. That's what my mom was told. Guess what? Then that's what my grandmother was told or my grandfather was told. You need to figure it out. And so that's what gets sent down. That's what gets sent down the line.
Yes, that sadly that's exactly what gets sent down the line. I guess that leads into what I can talk to it next is breaking generational cycles, and how do we break these generational cycles? Because it sounds like what may have worked for your mama, your grandmama, or your father, your grandfather, it just keeps pressing down. And I really feel like with time, if we keep doing these cycles, we'll still get the same results.
Yeah. I think there's a couple things. It's, first of all, we got to be able to recognize that this is what's happening. If we don't recognize it or we're not aware, there's nothing we can do about it. We're not going to change a thing, because it's not in the forefront, right? So it's having conversations like this that creates the awareness. And then once we become aware, then now we start to, well, earlier we were talking about questioning. Questioning would be one way. Another way would be tuning into yourself of, what is it that you want? What is it that you need? Like, answering those questions. What is it that I need? What is it that I want? And then, like, what are my intentions? behind all of this. And then the last thing would be, okay, now I want to do it differently. What would different look like for me? Well, different for me would look like, actually, I have a really good friend support group, or calling group, but good supportive friends. And so what I want to do is be able to lean in sharing with them. And when I share with them, then maybe I'm just looking for a little bit of feedback, of support, of, yeah, that definitely you should do that. So that gives me that little nudge. So then now I can go off and do this thing in this different way. If I could give a specific example, let's just use the example that I gave of, you're not supposed to ask for help. You're supposed to sit there and figure it out yourself. So now I'm recognizing that this is the message that I've been told, is that I got to figure everything out on my own, is the way that it lands for me. And then, so now I'm questioning, like, is it helpful for me? Yeah, it hasn't worked. I've been doing it, but it's been a struggle all along the way. And so what do how would I want to do this? Right? Like, what do I need? What I need is, I actually need to hear, uh I need to hear from trusted sources, in that what I'm doing is on the right track, or I'm on the right path, that, I can figure it out and I can do it differently, but I also need a little bit of support, and says, "Hey, yeah, you got this. That is another way for you to be able to do it." And then from there, I'm like, "Okay, now let me step out here. Let me trust my own gut, my own self, in that doing it this different way, it's going to be okay. Even if it doesn't quite work out, guess what? I learned something. I learned something now. I learned that this doing it in that particular way, maybe it's just that it needs to be tweaked. It doesn't mean that it's wrong. Nothing that you step out there to do is wrong per se, but there may be something that you need to adjust down the road to make it work for you.
Of course, of course. Now, why do you feel like now I have another question about breaking generational cycles. Are they celebrated, or are they vilified or resented? Because I feel like with the younger generation, they're celebrated, but the older generation, they have a way of making you the bad guy or you the villain for breaking that generational cycle.
Yeah. you know, I don't know. That is like, how much of that do you want to take on? Like, the one thing I know is that I can't change nobody. The only person that I can change is myself. And so if they feel a way about it, all I need to know is that they feel a way. And then from there, I get to determine, all right, do I need to be around that? Maybe not. I get to decide that. Sometimes I think that we don't even realize, especially as adults, that we still kind of function with certain other elders. We still function as children. We show up as children when we get around them, versus showing up as the adult that we are, right? And so I get to say, you know what? Look, my 50-year-old self don't have to sit here and listen to Uncle so and so muse over how upset he is about me doing it in this different kind of way, because I can't change him. All I
Hmm.
can do is take care of myself. And so until he either quiets down about it, I will keep my distance until he's ready to receive me as I am, as the adult who has made a choice for herself.
You know, I feel that, but then you have family members who you are close to that be like, "Oh, go see so and so. They, they don't mean no harm," or they have a way of trying to gaslight you into going to see them, try to make it sound like, "Oh, they're not that bad." Well, I'm like, no, I'm protecting my mental health, because I'm in my 30s, and it takes a lot as a man to build yourself up, and you have some family members that will tear you down, and they'll say, "Oh, they're just." I'm like, no. I know certain elders are just set in their ways, and it's sad.
Yeah, yeah, it's that part right there. No. You can say, "Oh, they didn't mean that," or "They don't really." Yeah, no. Well, if they didn't mean it, they shouldn't have said it. And guess what? I don't
Hmm.
have to sit there and listen to it. If you can go and talk to them, you can go and let them know where I am and where I stand and what it would take for me to come back around. But until then, no.
Hmm. Of
That's a
course.
that's a full sentence. No.
and and I wish family members would respect that and call it a day. Like, look, just be happy. I'm coming to see you. Don't be trying to get me to go see other people in the family, because the phone works both ways, and
True.
most people have cars and they have ways to get to you. So,
Yeah.
now, can you break cycles without vilifying your parents?
Yes. Which is the hardest thing to do. And even when in therapy, I often will tell my clients, especially when we get to that point and where we're making connections and that some of the struggle that they're experiencing is directly connected to either the way that a parent did something or the way that they didn't. They didn't show up in the way that was needed. And what I often like to say to them is that um, you you being able to speak to that issue, whether the way in which they showed up, which was had a negative impact, or them being neglectful and not showing up in the way that you needed them to, you being able to name that does not mean that you love them any less. That you can still love them and still be able to point out and recognize this is what happened and this is how it impacted me. And this is either how or why I'm showing up in this way today. And I get to choose. I get to choose to um, do the thing differently. And at the same time, I can still love them. I can still have a degree of respect for them, even if that means I have to do it from a distance, or either if that means that I work my way to have the courage to be able to go to them and say, "Hey, you did this thing, or because you didn't do this thing, this is how it's impacting me." Right. And this is how now I need to move in this different kind of way because of that. I still love you. And I also need to be able to pull myself away, or I need to be able to have understanding. Can you please share with me? Because sometimes parents, because they're in it, they're just trying to live life. They may be just trying to survive as well. They might not even ever realize it. And there may be some explanation that as a kid, um, I just didn't understand, or I wouldn't understand because I'm a kid, right? All
Hmm.
I know is that I need my mom, or I need my dad, or I need my whoever is my caregiver. I need them to show up and show up in a way. But I might not know that there was this thing that was happening to them at work every day, and they were just struggling trying to make ends meet and trying to do what they needed to do so that they could get back home every day. I might not understand that, or I wouldn't have understood that then. But them being able to talk to me and see me as the adult now versus their child, and to share that with me can open up some space for me to have greater understanding as well, and to also help me in my journey of healing and being able to move forward. Because 9 times out of 10, as a kid, we have created a narrative around what was happening, and it's the narrative that helps us to make sense of what is not sensible in the moment, but from a kid's perspective, right? And so to be able to hear from um, that caregiver, to hear it and hear it from the adult's ears, has the opportunity to shift the way that I am understanding myself, or the way that I'm understanding what that experience was. Then I get to recreate the narrative I have a new narrative now. It wasn't that I was that I got on their nerves and they really didn't like me, and that they I was getting punished because I couldn't do anything right. It was actually because they were overly stressed out and they were experiencing something really traumatic in the workplace, and they were struggling just trying to make sure that light stayed on or that we had food in the refrigerator. And that's how they showed up. So it's no longer about me. It's now understanding that it was them and their struggle and what they were going to, and that was how I experienced it. So now my new narrative is mom and dad was just struggling. They were just struggling to try to keep the lights on. They still loved me. They were having a hard time and didn't know how to deal with it.
That's so real. Now, how can we, as kids or adults as kids now, hold our parents accountable? But how do we deal with the parent, deflecting back or trying to play the victim? Like you're always, I get a bad rep, or you're always beating me up, or you need to seek therapy. Why can't the parent just take accountability for their actions? You know?
Yeah, that's hard. That's hard to be able to say I did something wrong,
Yeah,
or
it is.
I wasn't able to provide for my child in the way that they actually needed,
Yeah, I
right?
know that's hard to say, but I've had guy friends tell me like, "Hey, I had to tell my son that I messed up." I'm like, "Damn, he made it sound so." I know it wasn't easy for him, but he made it sound easy, and I'm like,
Yeah,
anytime that I may address someone with a parent, they're like, the parent is like, "Oh, you're always vilifying me," or I know there are other parents that gaslight, and they'll try to deflect instead of just taking the
yeah.
accountability.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And yes, and that does happen. And I would say so. Like we're talking about from the perspective of you're in therapy, you're seeing these things and learning about yourself
Mm-hmm.
in this way. And I would say for something like that, that is where you're pacing yourself and you're working with yourself, your therapist, to be able to build, to figure out the best way to be able to address these concerns with that parent who kind of responds in that way. So people don't just go out there all willy-nilly just saying a bunch of stuff, because you might hit up or run up against a brick wall, right? However,
Mm-hmm.
there's ways to be able to kind of prepare yourself. You know what you know about that parent and how they tend to respond to you, and it may be that you kind of come in at it sideways if you're not in therapy, right? But you try to come in at it sideways. I'm wondering if you could just tell me, like, what was it like for you back then when I was like, I don't know, 8? And and if they're like 8, what, I don't know, when you were 8, well, we were living here, we were doing this, and this is what I remember. And then they'd be like, and then they might jump in and start to fill in some gaps of where you said something, but they're like, I don't quite remember it that way. But still, that is potential for you being able to get information without confronting them, so to speak. It's the confronting that puts them on guard and want to then kind of lash back out at you. So it's kind of like coming in sideways. I'm just trying to have a conversation. And if that's the case, and if you come in sideways and they're like, I'm not talking to you, or it turns into something else, I would say, in that immediately. There's no need to try to go in and try to have this conversation, because they're not open and they're not ready for it.
That's real. That's real. Hey, parents out there, we are working to forgive y'all, ladies and gentlemen. To all parents out there, because our generation, the millennials, we're working to forgive our parents, and we're working to not make the same mistakes. Shout out to all the millennials who have kids who are not making those same mistakes out there. So, lastly, I want to talk to you about healing, because a lot of people, they don't heal, and I feel like they need to, because it is January 2026.
Mhm.
2025 is the past, and we just need to let it go. And I know some people that still haven't healed from 2020 or beyond. So, what do you say to people who don't take the time to heal?
Yeah. Doing yourself such a disservice, right? And so allowing for yourself to just pause, sometimes that really may mean that all the things that you have been doing and in the way that you've been doing them, it may mean that you need to pause. You may not be able to do those things anymore. It may mean that you are intentionally taking time and pulling away from those things just so that you can sit and hear yourself. We need a bit of internal quiet to be able to hear from the different parts of us that tend to show up, and they're offering us messages, because those parts of us that are trying um, to protect us and to help us to move towards healing. And sometimes those parts show up in a way that aren't quite so helpful. But their intent is to be able to protect us. And so removing yourself from the things that just kind of keep you in the same position, to be able to pull yourself away from it, even if it's for a period of time, to allow for yourself to have that moment of pause, that have that moment of where you can hear internally. And if you are a spiritual being, for you to be able to hear, right? To give yourself that time to heal. That giving ourselves the time and the space to be able to heal is the greatest gift that we can give to ourselves. Can Nobody else can do it for us. It can't come from anywhere else. It has to come from you. And so, like, this is that opportunity for you to be able to choose yourself and what it is that you are needing to be able to move forward. As you said, 2025 is done. It's over. 2020 is done. It's over. We can't go back and get that. We can't go back and do it differently. The only thing that we can do is to learn from it, what worked, what didn't work. And now also then thinking about, well, what do I want it to look like and what do I need to do differently to get there? It's like being able to have the vision of where you're wanting to go, but not staying out there. Because when we stay out there too far into the future, that leads us into anxiety, right? So it's being able to just to see enough of it to say, "Oh, that's my goal. That's where I'm trying to go to." And then now I can almost like work backwards. All right, well, what are the steps now that I need to take so that I can get there? What was step 1? What was step 2? What was step 3 be? Maybe, and since we're talking about healing, maybe a part of that is, you know what? I need to find me a therapist. Or, you know what? I had a therapist and I just stopped going. Maybe I need to call them back up and see if I can start going again,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
That's true. So, what is something that healing could cost you, potentially cost you? Could it like cost you certain friendships, or could it cost you certain things? What are some things healing could potentially cost a person? And obviously, it should be worth it if it's a part of you that's healing. It should be worth it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's an interesting way to put it in terms of what it would cost you. But I would look at it is what is it that you would gain, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
it may mean ultimately, yes, maybe a friend or two kind of drop off because maybe they contribute to where I currently am. But if I think about what is it that I would gain versus what it is that I would lose, the way it would then sound is, you know what, I just might gain people who are where I am or where I'm trying to get to, right? That I have people that I'm surrounded by that are doing the things that I'm actually wanting to do, and they may be able to offer me the thing that I've been trying to figure out, because clearly I see them already there. So now I get to hang out with them and ask questions of them. What did you do? How did you do it? What did it feel like? What did it sound like? What got in the way? What was the thing that boosted you? Now I'm surrounded by more like-minded individuals. And the people who may have fallen off doesn't necessarily mean that they have to go away completely. Some they may need to, but for it just may mean where we were hanging out 6 days a week, maybe I only see you once a month.
Yeah.
Maybe instead of talking on the phone three days out of the week, maybe we just kind of text every now and again. It just may look a little differently,
Yeah,
right? So
that's
it's thinking about what is it that I would have to gain versus
of
what is
course.
it that I would lose.
Of course, it's always worth the what do I have to gain? You gain mental peace, I can tell you that. Now, why do some people try to heal but still stay in the same environment?
Ooh, comfort. It's what's known. Staying in that place of what is, I already know this. And to go into a different environment, I don't know. Either I don't know these people or I don't know what to expect or what could happen in this new environment. So I'm trying to heal and do this thing and be in a place of comfort. The two don't go together.
Mm,
Intentionally, they do not go together. So if you are remaining in the same environment but yet wanting to experience healing in this different kind of way and wonder why I never quite make it, you got to change the environment, because that healing is going to require you to be somewhere different and experience yourself and the people around you in a different kind of way.
of course, of course. So definitely got to change your environments. And now, why? Now, to people who think healing is selfish, what do you tell them? Because I feel like healing is not selfish. It should be necessary and intentional. But there are some people who out there, they'll see you healed and they're like, oh, they might take it and feel some type of way.
Yeah. Um, if it's selfish, then it's selfish. It is. I have to be. Like I think that's the when we're talking about the messages that have been passed
Hmm.
down or that we have learned, like that is a faulty message. If if we do not ensure that self is good, then you can't do anything else. It will all remain the same, right? So it's my responsibility. So the new messaging would be, it is my duty. It is my responsibility to ensure that myself is good first, even before
Hmm.
my children. Why?
Hmm.
Because if I'm showing up half, I'm going to show up half for my children. Those are some of the experiences that we're trying to heal from because our parents weren't showing up as whole. They were showing up as half or a portion of themselves, right? So it becomes my responsibility, it's my duty to ensure that myself is good. And so if you interpret that as me being selfish, the new definition of being selfish is that it is my duty to ensure that, yes, that I am good and that I come first and that I take care of what I need. Because guess what? Everybody else is going to benefit from it that's around me. You're going to experience me as whole.
Hmm. That's real. So people, we need to heal out here, even if it is considered selfish. Hey, you only got one life to live. So, and that's only one person you can take account for. That's you. So, even if it is selfish, go for it, y'all. So, what is part of healing is you set boundaries. So, what boundary do people set that usually causes the most backlash?
The boundary that you don't uphold.
Mm.
We often we see it as I'm setting a boundary so that this person stops doing a thing or won't do a thing. The boundary is for you. It is you establishing what is your limit. What is that is either not acceptable for you or that you will not participate in or you will not accept as being okay for you, right? And it is, I always think about it as this, it's their job. I'm going to set the limit and it's their job. It's actually their job to push up against it or either to try to run over it. Because guess what? They have a need. They have a need that they're trying to get met, and they're trying to get it met in the way that you have always done. We do this dance with each other and we don't even realize it sometimes. But then when you decide to set a boundary or you set a limit, it's you saying, I'm not dancing like that anymore. I don't want to do that anymore. And so that other person may be like, wait, what? This is how we always do. This is the way that we dance. This is the way that we interact with each other. I get this need met from you. And now you're saying, ugh, well, yeah, you used to, but I can't do that for you anymore. Or either I don't want to do that anymore. And so here is the limit. And so the problem becomes is when they do push up against it, and then you're like, okay, just this one last time. Guess what they're going to do? The message that you're saying to them is that
Mhm.
even though you said no, you don't really mean no. So when the thing
Mhm.
comes back around, they're going to come back again and they're probably going to push a little bit further. And then what do? You say, okay, one more time. Instead, it should be, this is the limit. Either it's a no or I'm not going to do it that way anymore. I'm not going to give you money anymore.
Mhm.
Right? Let's just use that as the example. I'm not going to give you money anymore. Not well, just maybe I used to give you $100 every other week and you come and you expect it. And then now I say, okay, and they come back and you say, okay, well, I'll give you $50. No, that's still you still giving money. It's either you're not going to give the money or you are going to give the money. And if the limit is, I can't give you any money anymore because guess what? I ain't been paying my bills because I'm giving you my money that I pay my bills, right? So if it's no, I can't give you any money anymore, it's a no. That's the limit. And it's their job to come and push up against that. But it's your job to say, no,
Of
no.
course, it is. It is your job to say no, and I think people don't really value that no. Like, hey, if you guys say no, if you gotta keep saying yes all the time, that person don't rock with you. That should be a test right there to see if somebody really rock with you. Because if they rock with you, they're gonna respect your boundary and not press up on it. But if not, they're gonna keep pressing that boundary, and you're just gonna allow it, and they're gonna look at you as a pushover.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. Being able to say
it's
no, I'm not doing it, I can't do it, and that's it. Point blank, period.
Now, why do people take some boundaries personally?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. Uh, you know, I don't know. It's all the possible reasons in that, this has it's less to do about me and more to do about them and whatever it is that they're getting from the interaction that they have with you, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
it it's up to you. I come back to choice. Like, how much of this do you want to be involved in and explain and whatnot? Versus, you know what? I've decided that this is it, and whether they take it personal or not, that's not on me. Remembering that I can't change how they think, how they feel, or what they do. I'm just not going to. And especially if I know the person and I'm like, what do I want to do with my space and my time? I know that they're going to take it personal, so I'm going to prepare myself for them taking it personal. And whatever, if there's like backlash from it, then guess what? I don't have to read the message. I don't have to listen to the voicemail. I don't have to answer the call. I don't
Mm-hmm.
have to answer the email. I don't have to respond. I don't have to do any of that. If I do, it's because I chose to and because maybe I was being generous. But it's also understanding that I can't change the way that they're going to show up. I can prepare myself for it though, because I know who they are.
Of course, of course. And last, going back to healing, is cutting people off a sign of healing or unresolved hurt?
Like you being clear about why you're cutting them off, because it could
Mm-hmm.
be that you're avoiding something. And so if cutting them off, if you have decided to cut them off because that's what's going to be best for me in my healing, having them to be in or a part of my life um, is not beneficial or it's not helpful. Or it doesn't allow space for me to be able to move forward. Therefore, they cannot be a part of my life from this day going forward.
Mm-hmm.
right? So I would question, like, what is the purpose? Why are you cutting them off?
Mm.
Is it for that reason, or is it because you're avoiding thing, the hard conversation, or the hard whatever? Is that what it is? Like,
It could be you cut them off because you're just tired of their BS, and you're tired. You don't see no growth in them, or it could be maybe you're just not wanting to deal with some hurt, or you just don't want to address the hurt.
so being clear about that then, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is being
Yeah.
clear of that is the reason and why I'm
Mm-hmm.
cutting them off is because I'm just tired of the hurt. I know that they're not going to change. They're not changing. I'm tired of their BS. I'm done with it. Therefore, I'm cutting them off. So
Mm-hmm.
I think you as the individual need to be clear about why you're doing what you're doing when it comes to that.
That's a fact. So if y'all cutting people off, know why you cutting them off. Don't just cut them off because, oh, I don't want to do it. But if it can be resolved, try to resolve it. And if you can't resolve it, go ahead and cut them off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so thank you, Dr. Creswell, for coming on, having a drink with me. What is your call to action for the people listening to this episode? What's something that you want the people to do after listening to this episode?
Yeah. So what I would say, there's a couple things. So on your own, wherever you are, like I said, connect with the therapist or reconnect with a therapist, with your therapist, and go through the process. You can do hard things. If you're in the Maryland area and you're looking for a therapist, at Fearlessly Inspired Therapeutic Solutions, we have openings. We do virtual. We also do in person. We are available to you. If you are a little hesitant about moving directly into getting therapy, check out my book. It's about the introduction of, like, here's what to look for in therapy. Here's the experience that could be had, in addition to talking about the legacy burdens and ways to be able to break free from those generational cycles as a start.
Yes, that's real. Thank you, Dr. Cresswell, once again for blessing the Liquor Talk with your presence. I definitely enjoyed today's conversation. I want to thank everybody that listened to the podcast. How can the people get in touch with you?
Yes, so you can follow us on IG at Fearlessly Inspired Solutions on IG and on Facebook. You can also reach out to us on our website, fearlesslyinspiredsolutions.com.
Okay, we'll definitely get in touch, y'all. Thank you for having a drink me on this episode today of Liquor Talk. And thank you to listeners at home. Go ahead and contact us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, wherever you get your podcasts at. And also to the people in the Tampa, Florida area, whether you're in Tampa or Orlando or any part of Florida, if you want to come on, be on the podcast, come be on the podcast. Let's do this in person. Or if you're virtual, it don't matter. If you want to come up, be a guest, come have a drink with me. The seat is warm right here at the Liquor Talk Podcast. We're out this thing, y'all. Until next episode, peace.